Welcome back to Casual Bias Rugby, the moment that we've been waiting for. Wednesday evening, well, it goes out on a Thursday morning. Super Rugby, round 4, results, and then round 5 preview. We had another banging weekend. It just keeps going, Aiden. It's non-stop every single time. And I've had an absolute stinker. I went from a full house to having two actual correct predictions. What the fuck was going on? Aiden, welcome. What are you saying, my man?
Yeah, I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving. I've said it last week. I'm saying it again this week. It just keeps providing. And yeah, I mean, although our predictions were woeful, it just shows how competitive this comp is at the moment. Look, the key standout is last year's winners, the Blues, second bottom of the table. Last year's round robin winners, the Hurricanes, now bottom of the table. There's so much going on this year where any team can beat any team, and it's the way it should be. You have really no idea who's going to come out on top. And this week was no exception, with some history made for a few teams. And yeah, just so good to watch, man. Like, I'm absolutely loving it. If you're not watching Super Rugby, do yourself a favor. Watch the highlights at least. It is simply unreal. My favorite part of the weekend is getting up and watching the games. So get involved.
Yeah, and even before you start watching the games, hit that like and subscribe button. Also, go to Aiden's TikTok channel. Go to and hit the follow button over there. Right. Anyway, let's start chatting about it. We started off Friday morning. I was very disappointed that we only got one game on Friday, because I told you my Friday morning ritual is a coffee and Super Rugby. At work, not working. But we had a banger. We had the Blues taking on the Brumbies, and I feel proud. Like, I only got 2 predictions correct. The full Saturday was a stinkfest for me, but I got the Friday prediction right, called the upset, the Brumbies sneaking it at the end, 20 points to 21. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, positives for the Blues. Bodie, back to being Bodie, doing Bodie things, was simply sensational in the first 40 minutes. Went off with a hand injury, I believe. Great try, putting people in gaps, making gaps of his own. I thought he was really good. But yeah, Cameron Suafor, he was really good as well, the number 8. But yeah, the second 40, the Brumbies just showed that they have that fight in them, the dog in them to keep going. You know, they started winning at the breakdown. They started winning possession, territory. And then ultimately they won that scrum penalty with a huge scrum in the middle of the field, about 30 metres out. 79 minutes on the clock. Lonergan slots it through the middle. They go 1 point up. Kickoff's made. They retain the ball. And then they get it. First win at Eden Park since 2013.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. I'm feeling very, very proud of it. And did you see the Blues post of like, live by the scrum, die by the scrum? Because obviously they beat the Hurricanes kind of purely on the scrum battle. And then they got smashed at scrum time against the Brumbies, right? Obviously, as you just said, that was the losing cause. But I mean, a massive, massive thing for I would say Australian rugby, right? Like to get victories like this is obviously massive, because we knew this was going to be a very, very important year. The Brumbies always kind of setting the standard for the Wallabies in the past few years. And for them to get a history-making victory kind of like this, because, I mean, 12 years, that's massive for them going into the Lions tour and then Super Rugby again. It's a massive year for the Wallabies rugby. So victories like this means a lot more than just a victory, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, it's got great implications for Aussie rugby. I think this year especially is really just showing that they couldn't handle 5 teams, spreading the talent that they have. They've got some amazing talent, and we can see that. But it's clear that, you know, reducing that one team has really boosted rugby for the other 4. And yeah, I think you should expect to see more results like this throughout the year, more considered upsets, so to say, because the competition is just so much tighter. And this is a perfect example of it. Last year's champions, who I believe they smoked the Brumbies in the semi-final last year at Eden Park. And so it was really good to see those Brumbies fight back. And, mate, it's just so good to watch. I love seeing more results like this. Hopefully it stops happening to my team, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah. Drua versus the Chiefs. I said a comfortable victory for the Chiefs. I said just the way that they've played matured rugby. And I knew that the toughest day on the calendar is in Fiji, right? Like at that stadium, that specific one where the grass is probably as thick as this and it's wet and cold and stuff. And for a second, I thought they had it done until the Drua just said, the fuck no. You just don't beat the Drua in Fiji. 28 points to 24. Obviously, there was no Mackenzie, but you don't want to take anything away from that Drua performance. Nitty gritty, fighting until the end, and then got it over the line. I mean, what more can they ask for?
Yes, it was sort of an interesting one. I think first to point out the conditions were woeful. Fiji, it was like 30 degrees. It was raining, and the pitch was an absolute bog. And surprisingly, the Fijian Drua, they did the simple things really well. You know, we always know they can do the exciting stuff. It's ingrained into them. But they did the simple things well. Their breakdown was good. Their set piece was pretty good for the wet. They were good at disrupting the Chiefs in their set piece. And yeah, sprinkle in a bit of that Fijian flair. That Lagona Masi try was ridiculous. I know it looks kind of like simple. Chip chase, broke the tacklers and then dotted it down after receiving his own kick. But to do that in those conditions against that team who've defensively been really good is simply outrageous. Like, you can see when the ball lands, it just like stops because it's so wet. And then he punts it through again, dives on it and perfectly puts it down under the post. Simply outrageous. But yeah, credit to the Drua, man. They just pitched up.
Yeah. And I mean, the game kind of went out as we expected to, where there was handling errors and stuff, but the Drua just played so well in terms of keeping the likes of Anton Lennon-Brown quiet. Quintu Paia, I think he got like a 1 or 2 pointer that game. Like, you didn't really see Quintu Paia in that game. Now, can you really blame him? Was it the game that fit his style or something? No, probably not. But the Drua still put on an all-timer job against the Chiefs, right? Like, I don't think many people necessarily predicted the Drua to win. I don't think it's that surprising that they won. But the way that the Chiefs have played, you maybe thought, okay, maybe they can adapt their game and still figure out to like holes in the Drua defense. Drua stood strong. There's really not much to add to it other than it was a solid performance and caught me by surprise. You mentioned it that this game reeks of Moana finally getting it over the line. And to be fair, the scoreline could have been a lot worse for the Hurricanes. They pulled it back a bit, but still, Moana 40 points to 31. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, I said it last week, man. I was like, Moana are due a win. I've just got this ugly feeling that it's going to be against the Hurricanes, and they played so good, man. The Moana did, anyways. Miracle Failangi hat trick was sensational. Kyron Tomoifalau, brilliant. Weird understanding like the hurdle rule. Like obviously Blair Murray in the Six Nations got penalised for jumping someone, and Kyron Tomoifalau didn't. But don't take anything away from it. It was still a brilliant try, brilliant game. But, oh, God, watching my Hurricanes, it's so hard sometimes. Decision-making just seems awful at points. And, yeah, it's just silly decisions, some silly penalties. Isaiah Walker-Lewe just giving away a dumb yellow card as well. Yeah, I'm still putting it down to injuries, man. I think this is the last week I can do that. But, for now, double-digit injuries – I'm putting it down to that, but that excuse will wear thin. But
yeah, because at some point you got to say, okay, well, you've trained enough together. You have to have a bit of squad depth. Injuries are part of the game. Obviously, the injuries for you is massive injuries, right? Like, that's kind of just the difference. And one of them isn't even injuries; it's just you lost your best player in terms of Adi Savea, right? Like, it is big losses. But at some point, it's got to kick into gear. And you've got to say, okay, well, we've lost the big boys, but all of these guys want to play to be in that All Black jersey. And
you got to step up.
Yeah, and there's just a handful of guys at the moment that feels like they are stepping up. It just feels like the teams that are usually lower on the table have kind of got to that point where it's enough is enough. We can actually beat these other teams. And that's kind of what we're seeing. Even if they're not winning, they're putting up solid performances, which we didn't see last year. Usually at this time last year, you're like, okay, well, now there's Super Rugby's into the full flow. The big teams are winning. Not the bad teams, but the teams lower are being lower or performing like lower tier teams. Now, bro, it's just getting better and better every single week.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, these guys that are vying for All Black jerseys in the Hurricanes, they've got to want it, because if these players come back from injury, they lose their starting spot, they're going to have to show why they deserve to be a starting in the yellow jersey, put up the big games. And it's not far off. I think it's, cool heads sometimes making the right decisions in the right areas. And it's small things, but, they train together week in, week out. They've got the best training facility in all of Super Rugby in Wellington. And they're actually talented athletes. And on attack, they're sensational sometimes. But yeah, all of that saying, Moana Pacifica were brilliant. Like,
no,
absolutely,
you don't want to take anything
outrageously good. Alex Veer only played 40 minutes. And you think, okay, he's gone off. He's been the workhorse in the past few games. But everyone else in the team stood up. Pellegrini, who started at 10, fantastic. I thought he was really good, controlled the game well, kicked really well, broke the line and put people in space. Obviously, I said Tomoi Falau, he was really good. Even the centres, the loose forwards were great as well. So it was just a complete performance this week from Moana, which they sort of missed out, and they sort of got caught just out of their past few performances, not getting over the line. This week, they just nailed it, pillar to post. So credit to them, and hopefully my boys, the Hurricanes, when we get on to preview for next week, hopefully they can do something special.
Yeah. Waratahs versus the Force, and I actually called the upset victory, and I said the Force has just looked better, that hasn't kicked into gear for the Waratahs. Oh, they put up a great performance, 34 points to 10, convincing in the end. I think this is the real first convincing victory that we've seen.
I think obviously the Waratahs are now the only unbeaten team in the comp. They're my dark horse for the comp. I think they did the best out of the Rebels leaving the comp, picking up some of the players. But, they sort of scraped across the line in their first two wins, and they weren't complete performances for the Waratahs. And I think this week we actually saw what they're able to do. The flow they had from the forward packs through to the backs, and so the likes of Max Jorgensen, who played really well, but even the loose forwards were brilliant, and it just seemed like everything came together. And for me, was the reason why at the start of the season I thought they'd be the dark horses of the comp, because they do have all that talent throughout the park. It's just getting them all to link up and play cohesively.
Did you also get like the sense of this is time to kick on performance from this one? Where it's like, okay, well, this was a lot better. Now next week we got to put in a shift again. Now we got to build on this performance. You can take so many positives from this performance, and now you got to build on that. Do you think this was that confidence boosting one? Yeah,
I think it was just the reward for the work that they have been doing. And, they know they're capable of those sorts of performances. So to actually see it, be played out over 80 minutes against a quality side will be very pleasing for them. I think they will be able to continue off that role and probably put up some good performances against the games they've got coming up.
Yeah. And then finally we had the Crusaders versus the Reds. Now, I do like the Reds and stuff, but I backed the Crusaders to win convincingly. In the end, they did. 43 points to 19. Sevu Reece is an absolute animal. Like, the guy's so good. But yeah, where's this? In Christchurch?
Yeah, Apollo Projects is what it's called, the stadium.
Yeah, just a solid performance from the Crusaders. I never felt this result was really in doubt. I think the bye for the Crusaders last week was great for them to just get back to the drawing board and then go again against the Reds, and they put up a beautiful performance. I mean, the Reds aren't an easy team to beat, but yet they made it look pretty comfortable, right?
Yeah, I think like this Crusaders team with the talent they have back, like the injuries that they no longer have, they're a tough team to beat. Obviously, Cody Taylor was his first start back, Will Jordan at 15, Sevu Reece on the wing, Kamara at 10, Havili in the centres. They all had really good games. Blackadder.
Once again, we spoke about Havili last weekend, where it was like the guy just pulls out consistent performances and once again just steps up to the plate.
Yeah, 100%. And it's what we've grown to expect from the Crusaders in the past. And I think they had that little slip up year last year. And they've grown from that clearly, because the Reds are a tough team to beat, regardless if you're home or away, because they've got some talent throughout as well. So, look, I think this is, again, like you said, for the Waratahs, it's probably the stepping stone for the Crusaders to, really bounce on to the next one, because they've got some tough games away as well. So you got to think that performances like these against quality teams like the Reds are, again, it's just letting them know, we can still play a good brand of rugby. We can still play well. We can still put up a fight. And when you've got people like Will Jordan in your back line, who might just be the most outrageous rugby player I've ever seen play. I didn't get to watch Christian Cullen. A lot of people like him.
After Jason Colby, of course.
Yeah, yes, sure. But just in general, like raw try scoring ability, it's almost uncanny. He crosses the try line every time. He got 2 this game. He set up Sevu Reece for a try as well. So he's just a freak of nature, and it's so good to watch, even if he is a Crusader.
Yeah. Anyway, business time.
Yeah.
Talk about the next round.
Some bangers.
It is another exciting round. Like, I'm just looking at it now. There is crazy fixtures in this one.
Yeah.
Bro, I always try and go for the full house. I thought last weekend was a bit easier to predict, and I stank it out. Watch how I feel like this one's difficult to call, but then pull off another full house. I'm backing the decision-making on this one. Highlanders versus the Hurricanes.
In Dunedin.
Hurricanes will win this game.
I agree. For not just because I support the Hurricanes. Even if I wasn't sure, I'd probably still pick the Hurricanes. But key people back. Asafa Almoa on the bench. He's back from injury. Tyrell Lomax back from injury on the bench. Still no Billy Proctor or anything like that. Key person to look out for, Zach Gallagher. He's the new lock, young guy, ridiculously fit. I think he's like 6'7" or something and 100 and something kilos. And he did like a 4-minute 20 Bronco at that size.
That's crazy.
He's a freak of nature. I'm really excited. He's starting at lock.
You've got him in your fantasy, don't you?
I do. I do have him in my fantasy team.
Well, there's no way that you're hyping up a guy that much and you don't have him in your fantasy.
Yeah, he's in my fantasy team. I think real talent, just to watch out for. I'm really excited to see how he fares against, Fabian Holland, who's been playing really well for the Highlanders. But look, we've got the talent, and I've said it, on attack, we are brilliant at times. Ruben Love's starting again, so that's really good. Good to have him back from injury as well.
What was your thoughts on his performance last week when he came back now?
I thought it was decent. I don't think it was like an amazing performance, but it was definitely solid. He did his jobs well. He broke the line a few times. He obviously scored a try. It was a bit of a lucky try, but he scored a decent try. Still probably just a ginger return. Obviously, when your first game back after injury is probably always the most difficult one because you're worried about it happening again. But I thought he was decent. And so I think going into this game, it's just going to be about the defensive effort from the boys. Yeah.
And he's obviously signed a massive deal with the All Blacks now again till 2028.
Yeah,
which is massive. Because obviously for the All Blacks, you're seeing some guys go abroad, losing some talent in terms of, I wouldn't say losing talent because obviously Jordie Barrett's coming back, but we've seen it with Richie Moana, you've seen it with Lester Fanganuku. So to retain young talent is obviously a massive thing. And I've always been very vocal about it regarding the South African guys who's always been playing abroad in terms of the exchange rates, how much more money you can earn from playing abroad. So keeping a talent like Ruben Love in Super Rugby until 2028, massive, massive thing. Now, with the game, I'm backing the Hurricanes to get that bounce back victory. It will not be easy. Obviously, the Islanders are looking good this far. Right, if you look at Tavatava Nawe, however, right?
Freak.
Like, hey?
He's a freak, man. He's so good.
Yeah. Like, the Highlanders have really pitched up, and they kind of give me prime Wales at the moment, where it's like they just make life so tough for you. They're defensively solid, they're clinical when they need to be. But I reckon it's finally time for the Hurricanes to get a big victory. I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be the kick-on victory that they need, but the boost with Ruben Love being back, Tara Lomax, Asafa Amoa, who obviously all want to prove a point going into with international season coming closer and closer as we speak. It's going to be massive for them. And every guy wants to impress on that first game back after return. So I reckon I've got the Hurricanes by 6 points in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to back my boys. I think it'll be tough. I think it'll be an absolute slog. Got to win at the breakdown against the Highlanders because they've got so many breakdown threats throughout their team, including in the back line. Obviously, Tavatavanawa is a breakdown menace, and he will just turn the ball over and get a penalty and then do some magic shit and get himself a 50-22 like he's done previously. He's just nuts.
Yeah. It's the penalty, quick taps, and then kicks it.
And gets a 50-22. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I think it'll be a tough slog. It'll be about the defense. So I'm going to say Canes by a similar amount. I'm going to go Canes by 5.
Yeah, I'm too scared to go higher because literally none of them go as high anymore. Brumbies versus the Drua screams points.
Yeah, it's in GIO Stadium. It's in Canberra. It's tough for me to judge this one because it's like I felt like the Drua just dealt with the conditions better against the Chiefs. If that was dry, would the game have gone differently? I don't know. So it's so tough to judge how the Drua are going to play and how the Brumbies are going to play because the Brumbies were brilliant too. So I honestly have no clue with this one. There is no confident prediction from me on this game. It could go either way, and I would not be surprised.
I'm backing the Brumbies. They got a massive victory last weekend. You got to back it up against the Drua at home. As I said, I see a lot of points. I see Corey Toole getting at least 2 tries. I just feel it. Noah Lolosio pulling out an all-time game. Give me the Brumbies by 13.
Right, then just because I have no idea how this game, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go give me the Drua for an upset.
Oh my goodness.
Isefo Marcy is back in the centres for the Drua. One of their best player last year, the best player in Super Rugby last year. Yeah, give me the Drua by 8. Just watching dry ball in Canberra, watching them do classic Fijian magic shit, and just snatching a win.
Yeah, the big thing for me is just with the Drua's defense. Like, they love scoring crazy tries, but they love giving away a little soft try every now and again. Like, they'll have patches of 20 minutes of insane defense. And like, how are you going to break through this stuff, right? Like, these guys are too big, too strong. They smash you back. And then all of a sudden, they just miss like 10 tackles and you go in under the post. I don't like it when we disagree on this stuff because you obviously know a fair bit more than me about it. So, okay.
Well, don't trust my predictions. I only got 2 right last week as well, just a different 2.
Crusaders Force. Are we saying that we've got a comfortable victory over here?
This is one that I feel like the Crusaders will have a comfortable win. Okay. It's at home. The Crusaders are so tough to beat at home, even in their small little dinky stadium, the Apollo Project Stadium. You know, they put up a good score against the Reds. I think we'd both agree the Reds are probably a little stronger than the Force overall.
1 point stronger.
Yeah.
A Dalgunu try right at the end stronger.
Yeah, that much stronger. It's a tiny bit stronger. So maybe a 1 point difference in scoreline between the Crusaders Reds and Crusaders Force. But no, I just think the Crusaders, again, strong team named. I just think they're going to be tough to beat. And even if the Force pitch up, which they very well could, and make it a really tight game, I just think the Crusaders have, honestly, some of the best players in the world in their team.
Yeah. Just quality, too much quality. That's basically how to say it. So I'm hearing myself again. What's going on? Let's go 25 points, right? They won the previous game by 24. 1 point added to it. 25 points for the Crusaders. Severies, Havili, Will Jordan. Obviously, who's the lock or the Lucy that's
Cullen
in
Grace.
Super? Yeah, he's obviously injured.
He's on the
He's
bench.
been very good though.
Yeah, well, he's injured. One of the two. Shalfoon's been good too. He's the other lock.
Is Cody Taylor starting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Just
just class throughout the paddock. So I think we can agree there. I'm going to say Crusaders by 20. Slightly less because I think the Force will pitch up a bit more.
Yeah. Chiefs Blues. This is supposed to be a banger.
Yeah.
This is a repeat of the first game, isn't it?
Yep, and last year's final.
I've not got Damien McKenzie in my Super Rugby fantasy team, and he smashed like 120 points in the first game.
He's playing 10 now, though, I think. I think Jacob's on the bench, and Stevenson is starting at 15.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be switcherooing that one.
Yeah, I just can't not pick Damien in my fantasy team. Like, even if he doesn't score the most points at 10, it's just such a risk. Like, you have to guess who else is going to do well when, like, D-Mac, you know he's going to score at least some points. So,
yeah. When does the Blues wake up? Do they wake up this game?
Bodie's not playing.
Okay, they're not winning.
I don't know, man. It's so hard to tell with the Blues at the moment. Like, they went from being the most clinical team in the comp last year. They gave away the least penalties. You know, their set piece was probably the strongest. To whatever they're doing now, I don't know what's changed. They just feel hard to back to win, and the Chiefs feel the opposite. The Chiefs feel like a safe bet. So I'm going to say the Chiefs. Chiefs at home. Chiefs by less than 10. So let's say 9.
I've got Chiefs by 11. They just feel maybe even more. Let's say Chiefs by 13. They just feel a bit more clinical. They feel like they've put up more mature performances. There's not a lot to be backing the Blues on this far. Obviously, it's a different game than playing in torrential rain in Fiji while it's still 30 degrees when you're back at home and those type of things. So, yeah, I feel like it's a pretty safe pick to go with the Chiefs because you can only back what you've seen this far, and the Chiefs have been so good, and the Blues has been hot and cold, and obviously they've played previously now, and the Chiefs played extremely well against the Blues, and I reckon it goes kind of the same route because you haven't seen that much of the Blues to kind of defend that performance that they had in the first round against the Chiefs. So yeah, then we've got a banger. What a way to finish this round. Reds at home against the Tars. Your dark horses versus kind of my dark horses. Well, just the team that I like.
It's the grudge match of Australian rugby. These two have the most history of disliking each other. It's the big Australian derby. Reds versus Waratahs. Man, this is going to be fireworks. I don't know if it's going to be high scoring or low scoring, but I
feel it's low scoring. That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah. Banger.
Yeah. If you have any Lucy's or locks or whatever in your fantasy, they're going to get a lot of points in this game for tackles made. I just feel it. I'm backing my boys.
I'm backing the Tars.
Oh my goodness.
I think
it's like a 3-point swing either way.
Yeah, I mean, the Tars still the only unbeaten team, obviously. Reds at home, that's a big advantage. But I'm just like, I think the outside backs for the Tars are more consistent at performing at a higher level. Sure, the Reds guys can absolutely turn it on and score some outrageous points. You know, Dalgunu, Tim Ryan, and I think Jeremiah Murray's at the back. But then you look at, Max Jorgensen, Andrew Callaway, what's his name? God, I've forgotten who else is on the other wing. Darby Lancaster is who it is. They've been sensational. Last week, Max Jorgensen was a freak how good he was. But then I think they match up quite well in the forwards. So I just don't know. This is such a tough game to pick, man. But I'm going to back the Tars because I said they'll be my dark horses of the competition. Tars by
That's fair enough.
6.
I thought it was a 3-point swing either way. I'm gonna back the Reds. Home ground advantage. They need to bounce back after this one. It's a derby. Form goes out of the window when it comes to these games. Who's going to be clinical off the boot? I wonder how it's going to play out. It's going to be massive, massive heats in this one.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's going to be a fiery battle. But give me the Reds by 3. I'll back it. And that rounds up our preview for round 5. People, please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Go show Aiden some love on TikTok as well. And we will see you for the review of round 5 and the preview of round 6 again. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.